Hi guys, it's Dr. Muhammad Usman, and today the topic of my video is conflict resolutions with 6 thinking heads from the Bono. And this will be our training series, and it will consist of many different videos, and the topics will be these one. We will talking about conflict management, functional and dysfunctional conflict management model, conflict management strategies, people behavior with the conflict, factor affecting conflict modes, and up to the tips for managing workplace conflict. So I will be dividing this video into different parts, and first of all, this part 1 will be consisting of conflict definition and conflict management and how we lead to the unproductive conflicts. So I will be starting from the basics of the conflict. As we know from the name that conflict is some kind of problem or trouble in an organization or within two persons. So first of all, conflict happens when there is a disagreement between two different persons or two different parties. They can be verbally or non-verbally. It can only occur between people who are dependent on each other. If the person or the organizations are independent of each other, then the conflict will not happen. It also involves opposition. It is more than just the differences among different people or organizations. And there is another perception that the odds or the concepts are not understood by the other people. So conflict exists when the individuals who depend on each other or expect different views, feelings, perspective, or interest or goals, and they do not match each other, and there is incompatibility. So then the conflict occurs. So basically, conflict can be small or greater depending on the nature of the person or the working of the organization. But we can manage these conflicts effectively. But before that, we would like to see a little better in detail that why the conflicts are happening. So basically, if we talk about conflict, number one point, that will be the opposition. If someone opposes you, then you need to know that you do not need to oppose that person back to avoid that conflict. And other than that, the second problem is that if there is no opposition, so there can be an incompatible behavior, like the person is aggressive with you without any reason, the person is not talking with you, or the person is interfering in your problems without any reason. And then there is another problem, like there is a chemical reaction or interaction between two different persons, like their thinking is not matching up. They do not work together, they cannot work together, and their minds are not up to one level. So this is another problem that is generated during conflicts, and it can generate further more conflicts among different persons or organization. Another problem which generates the conflict is that when you will block another party from reaching his or her goals, then there will be a conflict because you are not allowing that person to make your goals or reach the goal. So basically this will happen when you will interfere in other person and in other person territory or move into the other person territory. And most of the time that is the problem in the organization, that when you will interfere in other person goals and tasks, that person will not be happy with you, and there is that the conflict occurs. But most of the time the conflict is not bad for the organization. It is not necessary that organization need to reduce the conflict. Some of time we need a little type of conflicts to generate understanding among our team. If there is no conflict and at all in the organization, then there will be no creativity. What I think, that there will be a little conflicts, and that should be on lower level with respect of each other. And conflict can be like, if you do not agree with another person, then it doesn't mean that it will be a greater war between two persons. It will be that that person will be working on that task again and knowing that he is right or wrong. So basically conflicts are part of the life of the organization, and they are needed for the growth and survival. Conflict is also needed for increasing and trust and increasing the mutual understanding among different employees. So conflict management will be focusing on increasing and decreasing those conflicts. Sometime it will be good for the organization, sometime it will be bad for the organization. But the conflict management is the basic responsibility of the top management, the managers, and they should not allow conflicts to reach a higher level. So every different person will be working according to their own role to reduce those conflicts, and it should be the basic priority of the organization. So if I formally define the conflict, it is basically the differences in the ideas, perspective, and views, and those people who are not able to understand or accept each other ideas and views. So conflict can occur anytime. It can occur in your organization, it can occur at your home, it can occur in the public. So you need to manage the conflicts, and you need to understand that how you will act on a certain situation, and how this conflict can generate further conflicts, or you can lower this conflict. So basically, when we talk about managing that conflict, it is called conflict management. Conflict management is basically about that conflicts are not necessarily be resolved, but learning how to manage conflicts can decrease the occurrence of those conflicts and can help us to reduce the escalation. So conflict management involve the skills related to conflict resolution, self-awareness, conflict modes, conflict communication skills, establishing a structure for management of your conflict in your environment, and other than that, it is the opportunity to improve the situation and strengthen the relationship among different people. So conflict management will have many benefits and will have many disadvantages, but everyone should learn how to manage conflicts. So I have a number of situations ahead, which are the basic causes of the conflicts. First of all, it is the methodological differences. Then we can have substandard performance from different employees or team, lack of cooperation among people, differences among the authority, differences among the responsibility. Then dishonesty is the bigger cause of the conflict, and dishonesty is not accepted by many people. Fear is also a conflict, that a person can grow other than you or grow greater than you. Then there are behavior differences. Negligence is also an important factor in causing the conflict. Hidden agendas are very dangerous type of conflicts. Value differences, salary differences, position differences, and other than these one, there are many other kind of conflicts that can happen anytime. So you should be able to prepare yourself to manage those conflicts and handle those conflicts, and you should look around for the symptoms of conflicts before the situation can occur. So how you can do that? You can look for the different symptoms in different people. Like if there is tension among a person, then he is likely to have more conflict than calm people. Then there is another person who is lonely, not communicating to any other person. That person is likely to generate conflict. And then the work not done properly. Then you should understand, if you will not do the work given by your organization, or it will not be up to the standard, then there will be a conflict. Very bad meetings or bad meetings will generate conflicts. Anger comes among the anger people, or the people who are bad at speaking, that will be generating more conflicts. So symptoms of conflicts can range from these one, and moving up to the failing of the productivity, slipping morale, bad tempers, and are evident among people. If you know that if a person can get angry at any time, then you should stay away that from that person. Absent from a certain task or work will also generate a conflict. Accidents on usually we see on the roads, it generate a lot of conflicts. Escalating courts, money, political situation in the country, and other than that, situation among different homes or people, or family tensions, or all of these kinds are the symptoms of conflict. So if you see those symptoms in your organization or in a person, then you can just start managing the conflict and try to lower that conflict rather than raising that conflict. So you can start from managing of the conflict by avoiding the disagreement among the persons, and you should nod, or you should say yes, I will think on that. Then do not involve yourself in different debates. Debates are normally very common in organizations. Avoid debates. Then avoid the disputes or unnecessary disputes. If a person is not doing good with you in an organization, then try to go up to the higher authority and try to talk with your team lead or top management, rather than involving a dispute with that specific person. Then another problem is that you should not avoid any person reaching his goal, or you should not be dishonored, or you should not do things like making those person feeling uncomfortable about those positions. So basically these will be the conflict event that will be disaster to your organization. So we can avoid these conflict events, and by knowing these symptoms of the conflicts, and we can manage them easily. So when we are talking about the management of the conflicts, we will talk about the unproductive conflict patterns. So by recognizing the conflict systems and conflict events, we can recognize the conflict patterns. So we can have some unproductive conflict patterns which can be recognized in form of early stages, middle stages, and later stages. So these conflicts can be managed on each of the stage by recognizing the symptoms and what we should do on each stage. So we can manage the conflict by knowing these symptoms at each of the stages. So first stage is the early stage. So the foundation of every conflict is the communication that fails to conform or fails to confirm the individuals or fails to make the other people understand. So anything that is not understood able by the different person will be a cause of the conflict. Then another problem is that when there are cross complaints among different persons, when you complain a person and the person complains back to you, then there is a dispute and there is a conflict. Then there is negative climate and environment in the organization, and most of them, if a negative individual and if a negative person is there, then there will be always a conflict at the stake. So early stages is that if you see such a situation, you can avoid by doing or making an explanation to your thing, so that the other person does not start a conflict. That will be a good, rather than be alone or be silent at that time. The middle stage is that once a negative environment is made up and the conflict has started, then you still have a chance to make that unconstructive communication or constructive communication. You can focus on the argument, and you can focus on what things should be avoided. Basically, when this happens, the conflict is started, then everything will be thrown on that person, or every communication channel will be against that person, and both will be against each other. So you should avoid by coming in between those person and try to make them peaceful. You can also focus on specific issues and resolving them, rather than focusing on problems among different people. You can also focus on frequent interruptions during the disrupt or during the dispute. So you can make those person calm and take them away from the situation by interrupting the flow of the talk. So this is the second stage. At this stage, you can still control that conflict. But when we go up to the later stages, when the conflict is on, and there is a fight between different people, then the solution is the focus. You should not focus on the problem. Then you have to talk with those person and find the specific solution. You have to meet with each person and see and listen their proposals, and you have to communicate individually among of those people, and you should not involve both of the persons or teams in a one meeting. And then there is another problem is that at this stage, excessive communication can occur non-verbally and through emails or other pattern, if those persons are not meeting, or during an organization, or the organization are not meeting with each other. In this, you have to talk about the communication patterns and how you have to lower those patterns to avoid those conflicts. You have to make up the unproductive conflict patterns, egoism, dogmatism, and self-perpetuating things out of the flow. You have to make the perspective that the person is self-aware of himself, the team is self-aware of himself, and they can avoid that conflict. So basically, at later stages, you have to find out the solution for these unproductive conflict patterns. These are not good for the organization. So basically, anything that will give a negative impact on the people, or the people will stop working, that will have an unproductive conflict pattern. So basically, if a conflict will generate more creativity and productivity in your organization, and if you are more focused to work, then the conflict is positive. And if it is negative, then it will be negative for the organization, and it will be unproductive, and it will be loss for the your organization. So basically, this was the part 1 of this video, and in next one we'll be talking about the functional and dysfunctional conflicts. So if you like my video, do visit my YouTube channel and subscribe and like to my videos. And if you want any concept to be taught in English and Urdu, you can comment back, and I will be happy to make it for you. And you can get training certificate for all my channel videos. For this, the process is already given, and I have made another video on it. You can visit and go for it, and I will be happy to see the comments. So what you are waiting for? Go today and get your training certificate. Thank you.